Alex Harlan drove his worn-out taxi through the rain-drenched streets of Chicago, his dim headlights cutting through the darkness. Suddenly, a scream tore through the air, forcing him to slam on the brakes. Ahead, in the torrential downpour, 3 large men were grabbing a young woman, beating her mercilessly. The memory of losing his wife and child to a similar criminal organization exploded in Alex's mind, transforming him from an ordinary driver into a hunting phantom. He burst out of the car, beginning a deadly intervention. The rain fell like bullets, turning the street into a muddy battlefield. Alex Harlan, a middle-aged man with a solid physique from his years as a CIA agent, stepped out of his gleaming yellow taxi under a flickering streetlight. He had chosen Chicago as his hiding place after leaving the world of espionage, living an anonymous life, driving passengers through the night. But tonight, everything changed. The girl's scream echoed from a dark alley, where 3 men in black coats were dragging a slender figure. She was Mia Reyes, a street singer with a sweet voice but a bitter life, forced into the vortex of prostitution by the shadow cartel. Alex stopped the car, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. The image of his wife and daughter, murdered by the cartel years ago, flashed in his mind like a fresh knife wound. "Not again," he muttered, turning off the headlights and stepping out. The freezing rain soaked through his shirt, but the fire of his rage burned hot. The 3 men, henchmen of Rocco Vance, a local boss under the command of Victor Kane from Mexico, were oblivious to the danger approaching. The tallest one, with a coiled dragon tattoo on his neck, landed a punch in Mia's stomach, causing her to collapse, her blood mixing with the rain. "Don't," Mia whispered, her bright eyes glistening with tears. But her voice was weak amid the pain. She had tried to escape the underground nightclub where Rocco forced her to serve his clients to pay off a debt. Now, the consequences had come as swiftly as a storm. Alex moved silently, his steps making no sound on the slick pavement. He approached from the shadows. Observing every detail, the man with the tattoo held a dagger. The short man on the left had a gun tucked into his waistband, and the third was grabbing Mia by the hair. His heart beat steadily, like a stopwatch from his old missions. Without warning, he lunged forward, a straight punch to the short man's temple, the sharp crack of bone drowning out the sound of the rain. The man went down, his gun clattering into a puddle of water. "What the hell?" The tattooed man spun around, pulling out a knife, its steel blade glinting under the streetlight. He slashed sideways, but Alex dodged, slamming his elbow into the man's throat, causing him to choke and fall to his knees. Mia looked up, her eyes wide in amazement, watching the stranger fight like a machine. The third man released Mia and lunged at Alex with a heavy fist. Alex blocked with his left arm, then swept the man's legs out from under him with his right foot. A kick to the chest left him unconscious, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The tattooed man roared and charged again, slashing wildly with his knife. Alex stepped back, his vision blurred by the rain. But his agent instincts kicked in. He grabbed the man's wrist and twisted it, a sickening crack echoing in the alley. The knife dropped, and Alex drove a knee into his stomach before wrenching his arm behind his back. "Who sent you?" Alex growled, shoving the man's face against the damp brick wall. Rocco Vance," the man rasped, blood trickling from his mouth. "You're a dead man. You bastard. The shadow cartel will hunt you down." Alex tightened his grip for a moment before letting go, allowing the man to crumple to the ground. He turned to Mia, who was huddled in the rain, her face bruised but her eyes shining with a glimmer of hope. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and steady despite the tension. Mia nodded shakily and got to her feet. "Thank you. But they'll come back." Rocco never lets anything go. Alex picked up the tattooed man's knife, tucking it into his pocket. He knew Rocco was just a small pawn in Chicago, working for Victor Kane, the head of the shadow cartel from Mexico, a man who had built an empire on human trafficking and smuggled oil across the border. Alex's own past with a similar cartel meant he couldn't just walk away. His wife, a journalist, had died investigating them, and their little girl had died with her. Now, saving Mia felt like a form of redemption. He led Mia to his taxi and drove out of the alley. "I'll take you somewhere safe," he said, his eyes scanning the rearview mirror. Mia sat in the back, clutching her guitar case, the last remnant of her dream to be a singer. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Just a driver," Alex replied, but in his head, a plan was already taking shape. He would track Rocco, find his lair. But he wondered if this darkness would swallow the peaceful life he had struggled to build. The rain kept falling, like a warning from destiny. In his small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago, Alex wiped the blood from his hands and examined the small USB drive he'd taken from the tattooed man's pocket. It was an electronic business card with the address of a nightclub. Mia was asleep on the sofa, her breathing even. He sat by the window, watching the rain fall, and wondered if he could save her without losing himself in the process. The clock on the wall ticked away, a constant reminder that time was running out. Which area are you listening to this story from? And what time is it where you are right now? Leave a comment below so I know you are still healthy and fully focused on this story. My dear friend, we will continue right after this. Following a lead from Rocco's injured man, Alex tracked down an underground nightclub in the Chicago Loop, where he posed as a customer to get inside and confront Rocco in a relentless hand-to-hand fight amidst flashing neon lights. He subdued Rocco with a chokehold from his past training and retrieved a USB drive containing a list of human trafficking victims, only to discover that Rocco was merely a pawn for Victor Kane from Mexico. Mia contacted him, begging for help, pulling Alex deeper into the maelstrom, a mix of fear and hope flickering in her eyes. The dim light from a desk lamp illuminated Alex Harlan's face, carving deep lines from his past into sharp relief. He sat motionless in his small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago, his fingers tracing the electronic business card he'd taken from the tattooed goon. The rain had stopped, but the air remained heavy and damp, a grim reminder of last night's intervention. Mia Reyes was still asleep on the sofa, her breathing steady. But Alex knew this peace was only temporary. The business card flashed an address: Club Shadow in the Loop, the bustling heart of Chicago. "Rocco Vance," he murmured, committing the name of the man who had sent 3 thugs to beat Mia to memory. This was no longer just about saving one girl. It was the first step into the shadow cartel's den. Alex stood up, checking the minor wound on his hand, a souvenir from the quick fight in the alley. He put on a black jacket, tucked the dagger into a pocket, and left the apartment without waking Mia. The Chicago night was alive, neon lights reflecting on the wet streets and cars speeding by like the city's lifeblood. He walked to the Loop, where towering skyscrapers blotted out the stars. Club Shadow was hidden behind an old, unmarked steel door, with only the thumping beat of electronic music seeping out. Alex watched from a street corner. 2 bouncers stood guard, their muscles bulging, their eyes constantly scanning. He took a deep breath and walked forward, affecting the casual air of a regular customer. Inside the nightclub, the air was thick with the smell of smoke and hard liquor. Neon lights flashed in time with the heavy bass, casting a chaotic glow on the frenzied crowd. Alex scanned the room: a long bar with a tattooed bartender, young women in short skirts sitting in a corner with vacant eyes, victims of the trafficking ring. He walked to the bar, ordered a whiskey, and listened to the conversations around him. "Rocco is upstairs," a drunk man whispered to his friend. Alex smiled to himself. His plan was taking shape. He made his way up a spiral staircase, avoiding the scrutinizing gaze of a guard. The upper floor was a VIP section, bathed in a dim red light that glinted off plush leather chairs. Rocco Vance sat in a corner, a large man with a heavily scarred face, counting a stack of cash next to two girls who were being forced to entertain clients. Alex approached slowly, pretending to look for a place to sit. "Is this seat taken?" he asked calmly. Rocco looked up, his eyes narrowing. "Who are you? I don't know. Your face." His hand drifted to the gun tucked in his waistband. His other hand, his right, was bandaged from a fight with one of his own men the night before. Alex didn't reply, his eyes as cold as steel. A flicker of recognition crossed Rocco's face. You're the bastard from last night," Rocco roared, leaping to his feet and waving over 3 bouncers from the corner of the room. They charged, brandishing iron rods and knives. Alex's heart hammered in his chest. But his training took over. He dodged the first swing from the tall bouncer, using a leather chair as a shield. The clang of metal on wood echoed through the room, momentarily drowning out the music from downstairs. The second man slashed with a knife, but Alex spun inside the attack, driving an elbow into his throat and sending him choking to the floor. The flashing neon lights broke the fight into strobing images, a punch to the third man's gut, the sickening crack of ribs, a leg sweep that sent the tall man crashing headfirst through a glass table. Rocco pulled his gun and fired one shot, the bullet grazing Alex's shoulder, drawing hot blood. Alex dove, rolling behind a sofa to avoid a second shot. Pain flared, but adrenaline numbed it. Alex vaulted over the couch, grabbed Rocco's wrist, and twisted it in a joint lock he'd learned in the CIA. With a sharp crack, the gun fell to the floor. Rocco roared and swung at Alex with his other hand, catching him in the face and making his nose bleed. But Alex didn't let go, instead transitioning into a chokehold, forcing Rocco to his knees on the polished floor. "Where is the list of victims?" Alex snarled, his eyes burning into him. Rocco rasped, his face turning purple. "The USB, in my pocket. But you're a dead man. Victor Kane from Mexico will kill you." Alex searched his pockets and pulled out a small black USB drive, the one containing a list of hundreds of trafficking victims stretching from Chicago to the Mexican border. He released Rocco, letting him slump to the floor, unconscious. The bouncers lay scattered around them, their blood mixing with spilled alcohol. Alex wiped the blood from his own face and checked his shoulder. The wound was shallow, but it burned. He slipped out the back door of the club and melted into the Chicago night. Back at the apartment, Alex took off his shirt and bandaged his wound with a clean towel. Mia woke up, her eyes widening in horror when she saw the blood. What did you do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I found Rocco. He's just a pawn for Victor Kane, the head of the shadow cartel in Mexico." Alex replied, plugging the USB drive into his old laptop. The screen lit up with the list names, photos of victims, trafficking routes. Mia stared at it, tears rolling down her cheeks. I'm in there. They've had me since last year." Alex clenched his fists, a fresh wave of anger rising within him. But then his phone buzzed a text message from an unknown number. From Mia. "They're coming. Help me." But that was impossible. Mia was right here. Was someone using her as bait? Alex looked out the window, where the shadows outside seemed to writhe and twist. Did Victor already know who he was? The clock ticked. Time was running out, pulling him deeper and deeper into a deadly vortex. Alex moved to New York to protect Mia, hiding her in Brooklyn. But an ambush by a cartel assassin, orchestrated by Lena Voss, a traitorous former FBI colleague, forced him into a close-quarters battle on a high-rise rooftop. using only a dagger and a rope as weapons. He discovered Lena was taking bribes from Victor to cover up the operation, which led him to contact an old friend, Harlan Brooks, at the FBI. A quiet moment when Mia sang him to sleep stirred memories of his own shattered family, hardening Alex's resolve for revenge. The weak morning light crept through the curtains of the Chicago apartment. But Alex Harlan was not asleep. The strange message from last night, "They are coming. Save me from a spoofed number," lingered in his mind like a deathly warning. Mia Reyes sat huddled in the corner of the room, her eyes red with fear. "We have to go," Alex said, his voice low but resolute. He knew the Shadow Cartel had picked up their trail, and Chicago was no longer safe. With a USB containing the list of victims in his pocket, he drove Mia out of the city, heading towards New York, where he had an old contact to hide. The long highway stretched ahead. The wind whistled through the window, carrying an unsettling anxiety. Alex wondered, had Victor Kane from Mexico sent someone to hunt them down? They arrived in Brooklyn in the afternoon, where the old buildings crowded under the grey sky. Alex rented a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, hiding Mia inside with strict instructions. "Don't go outside. I will get food." He installed hidden cameras around the house, checking the dagger and pistol he had taken from Rocco. Mia nodded, but her eyes revealed her fear. "Are you doing this for me, or for the past?" she asked, her voice a whisper. Alex did not respond, only turned away. The past, his wife and daughter murdered by the cartel, remained an unhealed wound, and Mia reminded him of them too much. On the first night in New York, Alex went out to scout. The city was bustling with car horns and crowds, but he felt invisible eyes watching him. A black car parked at the corner, tinted windows. He accelerated, weaving into a narrow alley. But then footsteps echoed behind him. 3 men rushed from the shadows, brandishing knives and iron rods. "Victor sends his regards," the lead thug growled. Alex rolled to avoid the overhead strike, using a trash can as a shield. The sound of metal clashing echoed in the alley, drowning out the city's noise. The second thug swung his knife horizontally, but Alex grabbed his wrist, twisting it in a lock. The sound of bones snapping crisp. He screamed, the knife falling. Alex kicked hard into the lead thug's knee, making him buckle, then elbowed the third thug in the temple. Blood splattered against the damp brick wall. But from the rooftop above, a shadow leaped down. Lena Voss, Alex's former FBI colleague, now betraying him for money from Victor. "Long time no see." "Alex," she sneered. Holding a silenced gun, Alex dashed up the fire escape, pulling Lena onto the rooftop of the high-rise. The New York wind howled fiercely, carrying the scent of the sea from the Hudson River. "Why did you betray me?" Alex growled, dodging the first shot, the bullet grazing his shoulder. Lena scoffed. "Victor pays better than the FBI. You should have died in Chicago." She lunged at him, switching to close combat with a sharp dagger. Alex drew his own knife, the 2 steel blades clanging together in the gusty wind. The fight was intense. Lena slashed downwards. Alex dodged to the side, using a rope strung across the roof as an improvised weapon. He wrapped the rope around Lena's wrist, pulling hard, causing her to lose her balance. Lena kicked Alex in the stomach, pain shooting through him. But he held on tight, driving his knee into her chest. The sound of their heavy breathing mingled with the howling wind. Lena pulled out her gun again, firing close, but Alex pushed it off target, the bullet flying into the air. He tightened the rope, wrapping it around Lena's neck, forcing her to kneel at the edge of the rooftop. "Tell me, what is Victor hiding?" Alex asked, his eyes bloodshot. Lena gasped, her face turning purple. "He launders money through illegal oil at New York Harbor." I hid the files. Alex released her, letting her collapse. Unconscious, he searched Lena's pockets, retrieving her phone with a message from Victor. Take care of him. Protect the operation. Anger surged within him, but he knew he needed help. He called Harlan Brooks, an old friend at the FBI. Harlan, I need you. The Shadow Cartel has an insider. Back at the apartment, Alex bandaged his new wounds, a few cuts from Lena's knife. Mia waited anxiously. You're hurt, she said, taking a cloth to wipe the blood. Alex sat down. Exhausted. I will protect you. Harlan will help. But then Mia softly sang a lullaby. Her sweet voice reminded him of the song his wife used to sing to their daughter. Memories flooded back. The house burned down. The sound of a child's cries silenced by the cartel. Tears streamed down Alex's cheeks for the first time in years. You remind me too much of them, he whispered. Mia hugged him. A moment of humanity amid the darkness. But the phone buzzed, Harlan texted. Victor is connected to Russia. Be careful. Alex, they are coming to New York. Would the betrayal stop with Lena? Darkness enveloped Brooklyn, the wind howling like a challenge from Victor Kane. The clock ticked, reminding him that the battle had only just begun. Harlan Brooks revealed that Victor was expanding his illegal oil empire at New York Harbor, and Alex planned a raid on the warehouse by disguising himself as a worker, leading to a quick shootout among the massive oil drums. Taking down 3 henchmen with buckshot and close combat. An explosion he triggered destroyed the shipment. But Lena Voss escaped and alerted Victor, forcing Alex to flee from the dirty cops. He questioned himself was saving one person worth the lives of many innocents. The message from Harlan Brooks still flashed on Alex Harlan's phone screen. Victor is linking illegal oil with Russian oligarchs at New York Harbor. Be careful. There may be more FBI insiders. Alex turned off the phone, looking out the window of the Brooklyn apartment, where snow began to fall heavily, turning the city into a cold white canvas. A snowstorm was approaching, the wind howling like the whisper of death. Mia Reyes sat beside him, holding a hot cup of coffee, her eyes filled with worry. What are you going to do? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Alex did not answer immediately. His mind was planning. To protect Mia and end the operation, he had to strike directly at the illegal oil depot, the main source of income for the Shadow Cartel. But could he do it alone? Alex left the apartment at dusk, wearing an old worker's coat and a wool hat to cover his face. Snow fell like rain, blanketing the streets of New York, obscuring visibility. He drove a borrowed truck to New York Harbor, where massive ships were anchored amidst the stormy waves. Victor's warehouse hid behind a tall iron fence, halogen lights illuminating the stacked oil drums like mountains. Alex observed from a distance 4 thugs patrolled, their breath visible in the frigid air. He sneaked through the fence, using pliers to cut the barbed wire, the sound of metal clinking blending with the wind. Disguised as a worker with an ID badge taken from Lena, he entered the warehouse, carrying a concealed pistol and a small timer bomb. Inside the warehouse, the pungent smell of oil mixed with the cold wind from the open door. The massive oil drums were stacked, creating a dark maze. Alex moved quietly, placing the bomb under a large drum, setting the timer for 10 minutes. But then footsteps echoed. A thug spotted him. Hey! Who are you? He pulled out a gun, firing a warning shot that grazed the oil drum. Sparks flying. Alex rolled behind the drum, drawing his pistol, firing back with 2 quick shots. One hit the thug's shoulder, blood splattering dark red on the cold concrete floor. The thug roared, calling for backup. We have an intruder. 3 other thugs rushed in from the corners, rifles at the ready. Snow blew in through the warehouse door, making the floor slippery. Alex dodged the first bullet, using the oil drum as a shield. The sound of bullets embedding into metal echoing like thunder. He leaped, charging at the nearest thug. Using his dagger to slash across his arm, blood gushing out warm. The thug screamed, dropping his gun. Alex kicked hard into his chest, sending him crashing into the oil drum. The impact loud. The second thug fired repeatedly, but Alex rolled, using buckshot from his pistol to hit his leg, shattering the bone. He collapsed, screaming amidst the snowstorm. The third thug, the largest, charged with an iron rod, swinging hard. Alex dodged to the side. Feeling the cold wind from the near miss, he engaged in close combat, grabbing the thug's wrist, twisting it, then driving his elbow into his throat. The wheezing sound echoed as the thug fell. But then, from the shadows, Lena Voss appeared. She had escaped last time, now bringing 2 dirty cops. "You're dead," Alex Lena growled, firing her silenced gun. The bullet grazed his hand, blood oozing, pain stinging in the biting cold. Alex rushed up to the warehouse roof, dragging Lena and the 2 cops with him. The storm wind howled fiercely, snow whipping against his face like needles. The fight on the roof, Lena slashed with her knife. Alex blocked with his arm, blood streaming down. He wrapped rope from nearby cables around one cop's leg, pulling hard, causing him to tumble down onto the snowy floor below. The second thug raised his gun, but Alex kicked his hand, sending the gun flying into the wind. A punch to the jaw sent the thug staggering. Then he pushed him over the railing, the scream echoing in the storm. Only Lena remained, standing amidst the thick, falling snow. "Victor knows everything. You can only save the girl, but lose everything," she sneered. Alex charged, using his dagger to slash horizontally. But Lena dodged, kicking him in the stomach. Pain shot through him, but he tightened his grip, driving his knee into her chest. Lena fell, and he pinned her down, the knife at her throat. "Tell me." "Where is Victor?" he growled. "Mexico City. The suburban villa. But you'll die first," Lena whispered. Alex released her, letting her escape into the snowstorm. He activated the bomb early. A massive explosion shook the warehouse, flames erupting, engulfing the oil drums. Black smoke mixing with the white snow. Alex fled, jumping into the truck, driving away from the harbor amidst the blaring police sirens. The dirty cops, Victor's henchmen, were on the hunt. Back at the apartment, Alex bandaged his wounds, blood soaking through the cloth. Mia waited anxiously. "Did you do it?" she asked. Alex nodded. The oil depot was destroyed, but Lena escaped. "And Victor knows we have to move." In his mind, the haunting question lingered: was saving Mia worth the lives of countless other victims? Snow continued to fall outside the window, a reminder that the storm was just beginning. Harlan called, "I have Victor's files. He is connected to Russia. Fly to Mexico." Alex. The clock ticked. Time was running out. Alex delved into Victor's files through Harlan, discovering that the cartel was linked with Russian oligarchs to smuggle illegal oil, leading him to fly to Mexico City with a fake passport. At the suburban villa, he infiltrated through the sewer, facing Victor's loyal henchman Diego Ruiz in a martial arts fight amidst the rain of bullets, using wire to choke and stabbing accurately. Obtaining the safe's code containing evidence, Alex sent it to Harlan, but a deep wound reminded him of his growing solitude. Harlan Brooks's voice came through the phone. Urgent, amidst the remnants of the storm in New York, Victor Kane is not just trafficking people. He is linked with Russian oligarchs to launder money through illegal oil. FBI files show the main hideout in Mexico City. The suburban villa. Fly now. Alex. Before they trace Mia. Alex hung up, looking at Mia, who was dozing on the sofa. her face peaceful amidst the nightmare. He clenched his fists. Memories of his wife and daughter dying tragically at the hands of the cartel, flooding back like a sharp blade. "I have to end this," he murmured. Packing his bags, with a fake passport from an old contact, he left Brooklyn at midnight. Boarding a plane to Mexico City, the night sky was dark. But in his mind, the plan was clear: infiltrate the villa, gather evidence, and end Victor. The plane landed at Mexico City Airport as the sun rose. Golden light shining on the old buildings, mixed with modern ones. The hot, humid air enveloped him. A stark contrast to New York's cold snow, Alex rented an old motorcycle, driving through the crowded streets, avoiding the scrutinizing eyes of local police, many of whom were henchmen for the Shadow Cartel. Victor's villa lay in the suburbs, hidden behind lush green hills, surrounded by high walls with cameras and patrolling guards. Alex parked the bike in a nearby forest. Observing through binoculars, 10 armed henchmen, guard dogs barking loudly, through the sewer. He decided, recalling the files Harlan sent, an old drainage path leading straight into the compound. He sneaked into the woods at dusk, carrying a dagger, thin wire, and a silenced pistol. The dark sewer was filled with foul-smelling wastewater trickling beneath his feet. But Alex moved quietly, his breath steady. The sound of dripping water echoed like a countdown clock. Exiting the sewer, he hid behind bushes. Scanning the brightly lit villa, the main room was on the second floor, where Victor hid the safe containing files linking to Russia. But then footsteps echoed. Diego Ruiz, Victor's loyal henchman, muscular with scars all over, was patrolling the garden. Diego spotted the strange silhouette. Drawing his gun, "Who's there?" he fired a warning shot. The bullet grazing the bushes. Leaves flying everywhere. Alex leaped from the shadows, dodging the second bullet by rolling on the wet grass. The fight began intensely. Diego charged with heavy fists. Alex dodged to the side, using his elbow to strike his throat. The wheezing sound echoing. Diego roared, pulling out a sharp dagger, slashing horizontally. Alex blocked with his arm, blood oozing from the shallow cut. Stinging painfully, he spun around, using his foot to hook Diego's heel, pulling him down into the muddy ground. Diego rolled up, firing repeatedly from the rifle strapped to his back. Bullets whizzed by, embedding into the surrounding trees. The sound of splintering wood sharp. Alex hid behind a tree, drawing his pistol to fire back. One shot hit Diego's shoulder, blood spraying dark red. He screamed, charging for close combat. The two grappled on the wet ground. Diego choked Alex with his muscular arm, hot breath blowing in his face. Alex struggled, using the thin wire to wrap around Diego's neck. Tightening it, the wire crackled. Diego panicked, letting go. Alex flipped the situation, pinning him down. The dagger at his throat. "Where's the safe code?" Diego gasped, his face turning purple. 8427. "Victor will kill you." Alex struck the butt of his gun against his head, knocking him unconscious. Blood from his hand wound flowed freely. But he did not stop. He snuck into the villa through the back door, disabling the cameras with a jamming device from Harlan. The second floor was dark, dim hallway lights casting shadows on the marble walls. The main room, the safe, hidden behind a painting. Alex entered the code 8427. The safe opened, revealing a USB and documents, a list of illegal oil transactions with Russian oligarchs. Millions of dollars laundered through the Shadow Cartel. He quickly took photos, sending them to Harlan via an encrypted app. "Here's the evidence. Victor is linked to Russia." Harlan replied immediately, "Good. Withdraw." "Alex, they are coming." But then the alarm blared. Diego had woken up, calling his henchmen. 4 thugs burst in through the door, gunfire erupting. Alex rolled behind a wooden table, firing back twice, taking down 1 thug with a shot to the chest. The second thug swung a knife, but Alex used a leather chair as a shield, then drove his knee into his stomach. The sound of breaking bones echoed. The last 2 thugs fired a hail of bullets. Alex dodged through a window, jumping down into the garden. His hand wound, splitting open, blood streaming down. He ran into the woods, guard dogs barking in pursuit. A kick to the dog's snout. Then he jumped onto the motorcycle, revving the engine as he sped away from the outskirts of Mexico City. Pain spread through him, reminding him of his solitude. No family, no teammates, only darkness and the mission. How much longer, he wondered, looking at the long, empty highway. Mia texted, "Are you okay?" Alex smiled faintly. But the loneliness grew. Harlan called strong evidence. But Victor has sent assassins to New York. Protect Mia. The clock in the car ticked. Time was running out, pulling him back into the deadly spiral. Returning to New York, Alex protected Mia from Lena Voss's hunt, leading to a high-speed chase on the Brooklyn Bridge in the dead of night. With bullets flying and a spectacular car flip, he took down Lena with a brutal arm twist, but discovered she was merely a pawn of Victor, revealing a larger conspiracy, the cartel controlling global oil through Russia. Mia confessed her forced past, creating a moment of humanity as Alex promised to rebuild from the ashes. The plane from Mexico City landed at New York Airport at midnight, the roar of the engines blending with the cold wind left over from the snowstorm. Alex Harlan stepped out, his hand wound, still throbbing beneath the bandage, but his gaze sharper than ever. News from Harlan Brooks echoed in his mind. Victor has sent assassins to New York. Protect Mia. He hired a taxi, racing to the Brooklyn apartment where Mia was hiding. The city at night felt like a desolate wasteland, streetlights flickering, empty streets, only the howling wind and darkness surrounding him. Alex sensed danger. A black car followed him from the airport, tinted windows, hiding the predator. "They're coming," he murmured, tightening his grip on the dagger in his pocket. Upon reaching the apartment, Alex pushed the door open, finding Mia sitting by the window, holding a guitar, her eyes red. "You're back," she whispered, standing up to hug him. But then, the sound of a car engine echoed outside. Alex pulled Mia down to the floor. "Stay still," through the window. He saw Lena Voss stepping out of the black car, leading 3 henchmen, guns drawn. Lena, the traitor who had escaped from the oil depot, was now leading the hunt. "Find them," she ordered, her voice cold. Alex knew he couldn't stay. He pulled Mia through the back door, jumping into an old truck hidden in the alley. The engine roared to life, the truck barreling onto the main road, heading towards the Brooklyn Bridge. The chase began in the dead of night, the New York wind howling like a monster. Lena's car tailed him closely, bullets whizzing from the window and piercing Alex's rearview mirror. Glass shattered crisply, and Mia screamed, cowering in the passenger seat. Alex floored it. The truck speeding onto the Brooklyn Bridge, the iconic structure with its golden lights glittering over the inky black Hudson River. "Hold on tight," he yelled, swerving to dodge the bullets. One hit the rear tire, making the truck swerve, but Alex kept a firm grip on the wheel. Lena smirked from the pursuing car. "You're out of road." "Alex," she fired relentlessly. Bullets tearing through the air. Alex jerked the wheel suddenly, ramming straight into Lena's car with a deafening screech of metal on metal. Lena's car flipped over, rolling several times on the bridge before flames erupted from the engine. But Lena and her 2 henchmen crawled out, guns still in hand. Alex stopped the truck, jumped out, and pulled Mia behind the bridge's railing for cover. The harsh night wind whipped fiercely, carrying the stench of smoke and blood. Run. Mia. He pushed her toward the end of the bridge, then turned back to face them. Lena charged first, a dagger glinting under the streetlights. "You'll die for crossing Victor," she slashed horizontally. Alex dodged aside, blocking with his arm, and blood seeped from his old wound. The close-quarters combat was relentless. Lena kicked him in the gut. A sharp pain shot through him, but Alex grabbed her leg and twisted it. Hearing the sickening crack of a joint, Lena roared, slashing vertically, the knife grazing his shoulder and drawing a long line of blood. Alex lunged forward, slamming his elbow into her throat, then snapped her wrist. The sound of breaking bone echoed. Lena collapsed, her dagger clattering on the slick bridge. He pinned her down, holding the knife to her throat. "What does Victor control in Russia?" Lena laughed weakly, blood trickling from her mouth. "Global oil. The Russian oligarchs are his partners. I'm just a puppet. Harlan. Harlan is also—" She passed out before she could finish. Alex's hand tightened, but her two henchmen charged from the burning wreck. The first fired an assault rifle, bullets flying past Alex's head. He rolled behind the railing, drew his pistol and returned fire. 2 shots hit the man in the chest, blood spraying crimson against the grey bridge. The second man rushed in for close combat with an iron rod, swinging hard. Alex dodged, wrapping a thin steel wire around the man's neck and tightening it. The wire hummed. The man struggled, then went still. Mia ran back, panting heavily. Are you okay?" Alex stood up, wiped the blood from his face, and checked on Lena, still alive, but unconscious. He searched her pockets and found a phone with a message from Victor. "Finish him. The Russian oil must be secured." It was a larger conspiracy. The shadow cartel controlled global oil through Russia, laundering money via the oligarchs. But Lena's words, "Harlan is also—" Could his old friend have betrayed him? A wave of suspicion washed over him. They left the bridge, driving to a new safe house in Queens. In the dark room, Mia sat beside Alex, cleaning his wounds. I was forced into this at 18, she confessed, her voice trembling. "My father owed the cartel, so they made me work for them. I sang to forget. But—" Tears rolled down her cheeks. Alex held her. "A moment of humanity in the darkness I'll rebuild from the ashes. For you. And for them." Memories of his wife and child flashed in his mind, strengthening his resolve. But his phone buzzed a text from Harlan. "Victor sent more men to Moscow. Go now." Was Harlan an enemy? The New York night still loomed, the wind howling like a challenge. The clock was ticking, and the battle was entering a new phase. Alex flew to Moscow under a heavy snowfall, approaching Victor's illegal oil port with help from a former Russian agent, Anya Petrova. He disabled the security system, leading to a chaotic battle on the ice and snow, a shootout with Russian guards, using ice skates and smoke bombs to take down 5 enemies. Discovering Victor was in a nearby palace. Alex memorized the location, but Anya betrayed him for money, forcing him to escape alone into a deadly blizzard. A private jet landed at a small airport on the outskirts of Moscow, its engine noise fading into the whiteout of the blizzard. Alex Harlan stepped out, the biting cold wind whipping his face, carrying the frosty scent of Russia. He wore a thick fur-lined coat, concealing a pistol and a dagger, the fake passport still warm in his pocket. The message from Harlan Brooks Victor is at the palace near the illegal oil port still echoed in his mind. But Lena's words, "Harlan is also," made him suspicious. If he betrayed me, I'm a dead man, Alex thought, But he didn't stop. Mia texted from New York, "Be careful." He gave a faint smile and drove the rental car into the storm. Heading for the port on the Moskva River, the heart of the Shadow Cartel's illegal oil operation. The snow fell thick and fast, turning the Moscow streets into a white desert as the car skidded on the ice. Alex stopped in a forest near the port and met Anya Petrova, a former Russian agent. With her blonde hair tied back tightly and eyes as sharp as a knife. "I'm helping you to repay an old debt," she said, handing him a map of the port. "Victor hides the oil here, and the Russian oligarchs provide cover. Security is tight." Alex nodded. A flicker of doubt in his eyes. Anya had sold information to the cartel before. They approached the port at midnight, the snow covering the river in a thin layer of ice, while halogen lights illuminated giant oil tanks like massive ghosts. Anya led the way, using a jamming device to disable the cameras. "We'll go through the side gate," she whispered. But then the alarm blared. Did Anya trigger it? 5 Russian guards rushed out from the shadows, assault rifles at the ready, their breath fogging in the cold. "Intruder!" One of them roared in Russian. Alex rolled behind an oil tank and returned fire with his pistol. One shot hit the lead guard in the chest. Dark red blood spreading across the white snow. The gunshots echoed, drowning out the howling wind. A chaotic battle unfolded on the ice and snow. The second man charged with an iron rod, swinging hard. Alex dodged, using the skate blade on his snow boot to trip him, pulling him down onto the cracking ice. The man screamed as he plunged into the freezing water. Anya provided cover fire, taking down one man with a silenced pistol, but a greedy glint flashed in her eyes. Alex threw a smoke bomb. White smoke erupted, cloaking the port and turning the battlefield into a hazy maze. The third man fired relentlessly, a bullet grazing Alex's shoulder, hot blood seeping out into the biting cold. He lunged forward, using his dagger to stab the man precisely in the hand, making him drop his weapon. A punch to the jaw sent the man crumbling, his head hitting the ice. The fourth man was hiding behind an oil tank, unleashing a hail of bullets. Alex rolled, using a second smoke bomb for cover, then glided forward like a phantom. He wrapped the steel wire around the man's neck and pulled tight. The wire hummed as the man struggled, then went still. Only the last man remained, as large as a Russian bear, rushing in for close combat. He threw a powerful punch, and Alex dodged. Feeling the wind from the blow, he kicked the man's knee, the bone snapping loudly, then drove his elbow into his throat. The man fell with a gurgle, disappearing into the snow. Anya stood there, smirking. "Good. Now, Victor is at the palace, 5 kilometers from here." She gave him the coordinates, but Alex noticed her phone vibrate. A message from Victor: "Deliver him. Get the money." Betrayal. Anya drew her gun and fired quickly. Alex dodged, the bullet piercing an oil tank, and oil began to leak out. "Money is more important," Anya snarled. A one-on-one fight ensued. Anya slashed with a knife. Alex blocked, and blood seeped from his old wound. He spun, using his skate blade to kick her leg and pull her down into the snow. Anya rolled back up, firing repeatedly. But the remaining smoke provided cover. Alex lunged, snapping her gun hand, the joint cracking loudly. She screamed as her knife fell. He pinned her down, holding the knife to her throat. "Why?" Victor offered double. Anya gasped. Alex let her go, allowing her to escape into the blizzard. He searched Anya's pockets and took a USB drive files on the illegal oil operation, confirming Victor was at the palace on the outskirts of Moscow. He activated a timed bomb hidden in an oil tank. A massive explosion rocked the port. Flames engulfed millions of liters of oil, and black smoke mingled with the white snow. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The Russian oligarchs would cover it up. but the damage was immense. Alex ran into the snowy forest, the storm wind whipping fiercely, the snow burying his footprints. His legs were numb, his wounds bleeding. But he didn't stop. Mia must live, he thought, memories of his wife and child flashing through the pain. He called Harlan. The port is destroyed. Victor's at the palace. But Anya betrayed me. Harlan replied, I'll provide support, but be careful. Alex, there's a mole. Suspicion about Harlan surged. The deadly blizzard closed in, and he hid in a rocky cave, waiting for dawn. Did Victor know he was coming? The watch on his wrist ticked. Time running out, pulling him toward the final battle, returning to Chicago to consolidate evidence. Alex trains Mia in basic self-defense. Interspersed with flashbacks of the day his wife and child were murdered by the cartel. A raid by Victor's men at the apartment leads to an intense close-quarters fight. He uses a sofa as a shield and slashes an enemy's wrist tendon with his dagger. Sending all the data to Harlan, Alex decides on a final assault. With the lingering question, does justice truly exist in this grey world? Faint sunlight filtered through the window of the temporary apartment on the outskirts of Chicago, illuminating Alex Harlan's weary face. He had just returned from Moscow, his body covered in wounds from the battle in the snow. But his mind found no rest. The evidence from the illegal oil port, the USB drive containing transactions with the Russian oligarchs, was safe in his pocket. Harlan Brooks had texted, "Send the data. I'll handle the FBI." But doubt about Harlan, sparked by Lena's words, still gnawed at him. Alex watched Mia Reyes punching a makeshift sandbag he had made. Her face slick with sweat. "Getting better," he said in a low voice. He was training her in self-defense, how to dodge a punch, how to perform an arm lock, how to use everyday objects as weapons. "If I don't come back, you have to survive," he said sternly. Mia stopped, panting. "You. Tell me about them. Your wife and daughter." Alex sat down, his eyes distant. The memories flooded back like a nightmare 5 years ago. On the Mexican border, his wife, a journalist, was investigating a cartel similar to the Shadow Cartel. They broke into their home and burned everything. His daughter's cries faded amidst the flames, and his wife died in his arms, her blood staining the floor. "They died because I wasn't fast enough," Alex whispered, a tear rolling down his cheek the first time Mia had seen him vulnerable. "Victor will pay." Mia hugged him, a warm moment in the darkness, reinforcing his motive, justice, not just for Mia, but for the souls he had lost. But the peace was short-lived. That night, a pounding on the door echoed like thunder. Alex pushed Mia into the bedroom. "Hide." 4 of Victor's men, henchmen from Mexico, burst in through the broken window, pistols at the ready. "Victor sends his final regards," the leader growled, firing a shot into the wall, sending dust everywhere. Alex rolled behind the sofa, using it as a shield. Bullets tore into the leather, ripping the fabric. He vaulted over it, lunging at the nearest man, his dagger flashing as it severed the tendon in the man's gun hand. Blood sprayed. The man screamed, and his gun clattered onto the wooden floor. The second man charged with a knife, slashing horizontally. Alex dodged, slamming his elbow into the man's throat. The sound of gurgling echoing in the room. He collapsed, and Alex kicked him hard in the chest, shoving him into a glass table that shattered. The crisp sound of breaking glass drowned out the city noise. The third man fired repeatedly from the doorway, a bullet grazing Alex's shoulder, hot blood seeping out. Alex rolled, picked up the fallen knife from the floor, and threw it with precision into the man's thigh, causing him to scream and fall. The leader, a large man with a scarred face, charged in for close combat, swinging a heavy fist. Alex blocked with his arm, pain shooting through it. then used a leg sweep to take him down. Pinning him, he choked him with the thin steel wire from his pocket. The wire humming. "Where is Victor?" Alex snarled. The man gasped, "The Moscow Palace." "But you'll be dead first." Alex knocked him unconscious with the hilt of his dagger. The apartment was now a battlefield, blood spattered everywhere. Furniture destroyed. Mia ran out. Trembling, You're hurt." Alex wiped away the blood and quickly bandaged the wound. "It's just a scratch." "We have to go." He checked the leader's pockets and found a phone with a message from Victor. Take him down before he gets to Russia. The plan was clear. Victor knew he was coming. Alex plugged the USB into a laptop and sent all the data from the list of victims to the Russian oil transactions to Harlan through an encrypted channel. "This is everything. Handle it," he messaged. Harlan replied, "Received. The FBI will move. But Victor has an insider. Be careful." Suspicion surged. Was Harlan the insider? Alex made his decision, a final assault on the Moscow Palace. "I'm going alone," he told Mia. She shook her head. "I'm coming with you. You saved me. And now I won't let you be alone." They left Chicago at dawn, flying to Moscow on fake passports. On the plane, Alex watched the white clouds, wondering, does justice even exist in this grey world? Or is it just an illusion? Mia took his hand. "A moment of humanity, yes. Because you're fighting for it." But deep down, he knew the final battle would be brutal. The countdown in his head ticked on. Time running out. Leading him to Victor's den, the Russian blizzard was waiting. Like a final challenge, Alex infiltrates Victor's palace on the outskirts of Moscow, passing through a snowy forest and an electric fence to face 10 guards in a labyrinthine hallway with a pistol and lightning-fast martial arts, a continuous sequence of punches, kicks, and chokes. He confronts Victor in a firelit drawing room, using a 12-second stopwatch to count down a brutal one-on-one fight, taking him down with a devastating joint lock. The final piece of evidence is sent. But before he dies, Victor whispers a secret about Harlan's betrayal. Snow fell thick and fast in the forest on the outskirts of Moscow, the wind howling like a wolf in the dark night. Alex Harlan climbed over the electric fence, which he had disabled with the jamming device from Anya, his form blending into the white darkness. Victor Kane's palace appeared like an ancient fortress, its crystal chandeliers shining through the windows. But inside was a wolf's den full of traps. Mia was waiting for news in New York, and Harlan had promised FBI support. But Lena's words still haunted him. Harlan is also... Alex gripped his old stopwatch, the one that had been with him through so many battles, and slipped in through a service entrance. His heart beat steadily. The memory of his family's brutal death driving him. It ends tonight. Inside the labyrinthine corridors, the cold marble reflected the dim light. 10 guards patrolled, assault rifles slung over their shoulders, their breath fogging in the air. Alex hid behind a pillar, observing 2 men in the corner, 3 on patrol, 5 guarding the main room. He drew his silenced pistol and fired 2 quick shots, hitting the 2 men in the corner in the chest, blood spreading on the stone floor. The shots were soft, but it was enough to alert them. "Intruder," one man roared, firing his rifle repeatedly. Bullets slammed into the pillar, sending stone chips flying everywhere. Alex burst out. His martial arts lightning fast, he dodged the bullets with a roll, then punched the nearest man squarely in the jaw with the crisp sound of breaking bone. As the man collapsed, Alex snatched his gun and shot the second man in the shoulder, drawing a spray of crimson blood. The 3 patrolling guards charged, one slashing with a knife. Alex dodged aside, used a leg sweep to take him down, then choked him with a powerful arm. Lock. The crack of a joint echoed, and the man went limp. The second guard swung an iron rod, which Alex blocked with his elbow, a sharp pain shooting through him, before driving his knee into the man's stomach and sending him crashing into the wall. The loud impact resounded through the corridor. The remaining 5 men from the main room rushed out. Unleashing a hail of bullets, Alex took cover behind an antique wooden table as bullets tore through the air. He threw a smoke bomb. White smoke erupted, cloaking the maze. He charged into the chaos, punching the 4th man in the temple, kicking the 5th in the knee, choking the 6th with his thin steel wire. The wire hummed as the man struggled and then went still. The 7th man slashed with a knife. Alex dodged and used his own dagger to stab him precisely in the hand, drawing a long line of blood. A reverse arm lock made the man scream and collapse. The last man fired at close range, a bullet grazing Alex's thigh. Hot blood seeping out into the cold, Alex lunged forward, hitting him with a flurry of punches to the chest, then kicked him into a framed painting, which shattered. The corridor was now silent, filled only with the smell of blood and smoke. Alex panted, quickly bandaged the wound on his thigh, and then entered the grand drawing room. A fire blazed in the hearth, illuminating the face of Victor Kane, the kingpin of the Shadow Cartel. A large man with eyes bloodshot with rage. "Who are you, a ghost from Chicago?" Victor roared, a pistol in his hand. Standing next to an open safe, the final documents on the Russian oil operation. "You've ruined everything, but you die here." Alex took out his stopwatch and pressed the button. 12 seconds. Dropped the gun. The watch began to count down, his eyes as cold as the Russian ice. Victor scoffed and fired a shot, the bullet grazing Alex's shoulder. 10 seconds. Alex lunged, dodging the second shot by rolling behind a leather armchair. Flames from the fireplace licked at the carpet, smoke spreading. Victor drew a knife and slashed vertically. Alex blocked with his arm, blood seeping from an old wound, then kicked Victor's knee, the bone cracking loudly. 8 seconds. Victor roared and landed a heavy punch on Alex's face, drawing blood from his nose. But Alex spun, slamming his elbow into Victor's throat, making him choke. 6 seconds. Victor lunged in, choking Alex with his muscular arm. Hot breath blew into his face. The fireplace flared up nearby. Alex struggled, kneeing Victor in the stomach, pushing him back. 4 seconds. Victor picked up the fallen gun, fired close, but Alex deflected it, the bullet flying into the wall. He rushed in, locking Victor's wrist, twisting it back. The sound of breaking bones echoed. Victor collapsed, the knife falling. 2 seconds. Alex pinned him down on the scorching floor, the knife at his throat. "It's over." The clock stopped. Victor whispered, blood oozing from his mouth. "Harlan. Harlan is the mole. He sold you to me." Alex tightened his grip, but then let go. Victor stopped breathing, his eyes wide open. He rummaged through the safe, taking the last USB, evidence linking Russia and the global cartel. He quickly sent it to Mia. "Send it to the FBI clean." Harlan betrayed. The palace shook. Other henchmen were coming. Alex jumped through the window, running into the snowy forest, the wind whipping fiercely. Harlan called Alex. "Where are you?" But now he knew the truth. Would justice prevail when friends betray? The snow buried the footprints, but the fire of anger still burned within him. The clock ticked, leading to the final showdown in New York. Back in New York, Alex faced Harlan Brooks, the real traitor, in the final battle on the rooftop of a skyscraper. The howling wind and thunder providing the backdrop for a close-quarters struggle with knives and fists. Taking down Harlan, Alex saved Mia from the final assassination attempt, sending all the evidence to the FBI clean, an open ending with Alex disappearing into the crowd, Mia singing the song of freedom. But he realized that justice was merely a fragile illusion, leaving behind a tragic echo of a lonely ghost. The plane from Moscow landed at New York Airport at dawn. The weak sunlight piercing through the city's fog, Alex Harlan stepped out, the thigh wound still aching beneath the bandage. But his eyes burned with rage. Victor Kane's last whisper, "Harlan is the mole," echoed like a curse. He drove to Queens, where Mia was hiding. But a sense of unease surged. The city was bustling with the sounds of honking cars and crowds. But for Alex, this was a grey desert full of enemies. Harlan Brooks, his old friend at the FBI, had sold him out to the Shadow Cartel. Evidence from the last USB confirmed it, messages between Harlan and Victor. Millions of dollars in bribes to cover up the Russian oil pipeline. "You're dead for sure." "Harlan," Alex muttered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. He arrived at the temporary apartment, seeing Mia softly singing by the window, her sweet voice echoing in the cramped space. "You're back." She smiled, but then noticed his expression. "What's wrong?" Alex told her everything. Victor was dead, but Harlan had betrayed. Mia trembled. "He will kill us." Alex nodded, planning lure Harlan to the rooftop of a skyscraper in downtown New York, where the howling wind and thunder would set the stage for the final showdown. He called Harlan. "Meet at the Empire State Rooftop. I have the final evidence." Harlan agreed, his voice calm. "Good. Alex, let's end this." That evening, thunder ripped through the New York sky, the strong wind whipping like a whip. Alex climbed to the rooftop via the fire escape, avoiding security. Harlan was waiting, his coat billowing, holding a pistol. "You know already," Harlan sneered, his eyes gleaming with greed. "Victor paid well. The FBI is clean. But cartel money is what makes you rich." Alex growled, "You sold out your friend for money. My wife and child died because of scum like you." Harlan fired a shot, the bullet grazing Alex's ear, blood oozing. The fight began in a flurry amidst the howling wind. Alex rushed in, dodging the second bullet by rolling on the rain-soaked concrete floor. Harlan drew a knife, slashing horizontally. Alex blocked with his arm, blood seeping from the old wound, stinging painfully. He punched Harlan squarely in the jaw, the bone cracking, blood spraying from his mouth. Harlan roared, kicking Alex in the stomach, pushing him back to the edge of the rooftop, a chasm hundreds of meters below, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. The wind whipped fiercely, lightning illuminating the faces of the two, former friends now turned enemies. Alex struggled, delivering a flurry of punches to Harlan's chest, the sound of impact drowning out the thunder. Harlan choked him with his arm. "Hot breath, you're dead." "Mia's dead too." But Alex turned, using his elbow to strike Harlan's throat. A wheezing sound erupted. Harlan let go, staggering. Alex lunged, twisting the knife handle. The sound of cracking joints echoed. The knife rolled across the slick floor. Harlan picked up the fallen gun, fired close. The bullet grazed Alex's thigh, blood streaming down. Pain seared, but adrenaline masked it. Alex kicked Harlan's leg, bringing him down onto the wet floor, then pinned him, raining down punches, one to the eye, bruising it, one to the nose, blood gushing out. Harlan struggled, slashing wildly with his bare hands. But Alex locked his shoulder joint, twisting it back. The sound of breaking bones echoed amidst the thunder. Harlan wheezed, his face smeared with blood. "You win." But the cartel is still strong. Alex let go, leaving him unconscious. Then sent the final evidence, all data from Chicago to Moscow, to a clean contact at the FBI. Bypassing Harlan. "It's over," he texted. But then the phone vibrated news from the cartel's henchman. "Mia has been captured." Alex dashed down the stairs, driving like a madman back to Queens. The apartment had been raided, the door broken. But Mia was struggling with two henchmen. She used the self-defense moves he taught her, kicking one in the knee, then punching the other in the throat. Alex burst in, taking down the first guy with a precise stab of a dagger into his shoulder. Blood spraying. The second guy lunged at him, but Alex choked him with a steel wire. The sound of cracking bones. He fell still. Mia hugged him, trembling eye. I did it, Alex nodded, leading her away. Sending the final evidence to the FBI. Harlan is the mole. Take down the cartel. The next morning, news spread the FBI raided the shadow cartel network. Harlan was arrested. The Russian oligarch was being hunted. But Alex did not stay to witness. He disappeared into the New York crowd, his black coat blending with the hurried throngs. Mia stood on a small stage in Brooklyn, singing the song of freedom, her clear voice resonating. The audience applauding. Thank you, hidden hero. She whispered into the microphone, tears streaming down her face. Alex watched from afar, a faint smile on his lips, then turned away. Justice prevailed. But he realized it was merely a fragile illusion. A new cartel would rise. The darkness would never end. He was a lonely ghost, wandering between cities, ready for the next battle. The New York wind whispered softly, like the voice of fate. Justice is not an end, but a journey. Alex blended into the crowd, disappearing, leaving behind a tragic echo of a man fighting against the whole world.